Well, hi everyone. I'm Henry Gordon Smith, and I'm here in Vienna, Austria with Daniel Podmirseg. Did I do that okay?
Yes, perfect.
I got it right?
Yeah. Think about pop music.
Think about pop music. Podmirseg. We got it. You just gotta let it flow. So we're here in beautiful, cultural, and a little bit chilly Vienna right now, and Daniel is the founder of Vertical Farm Institute. So first tell us a little about who you are, what you do.
Okay. In principle, I'm an architect, and I'm absolutely convinced that we radically have to increase the food production in the city. And that what we are doing is, with our R&D institute, that we are combining science, energy planning, and architecture, and make vertical farming in the city feasible.
Yeah, obviously I share that vision for more food in the city, but what I really like about what you said is you talked about connecting energy and food and buildings and construction. Because this is the missing piece that a lot of people don't understand. When you bring agriculture into the city, it's not the same as agriculture outside of the city. You have social conditions, you have buildings to consider, you have architecture and aesthetics to consider, and these energy flows of creating these farms in the city are complex. And what you do is you really bring in the architectural thinking, but as you mentioned, those energy flows. And we've looked at some of that as we've explored your studio over the past couple days. Now, before we talk about some of the things you're working on, one of the things that really inspires me every time I visit here is that you bring in a historical lens into vertical farming. And vertical farming to most people is considered very futuristic, but there is a history there, isn't there? And we're actually looking at something related to it. Can you tell us what we're looking at here?
Yes, actually what you see here is the first vertical farm worldwide set up a half century ago in 1974. Yeah, so there was a company in Austria, absolutely amazing, Rudner Industrieller Pflanzenbau. Yeah, they all emerged from an anthroposophic point of view. So actually, the inventor of that idea simply figured out that all the horticulturalists have issues, health issues with backbone and whatever. Yeah, when they are turning 30, 35.
All the bending down, all the...
Exactly. Yeah. Absolute disaster, and he is coming from the steel industry, so familiar with the assembly line and whatnot. And his question actually was, why aren't the plants coming to the human beings? Yeah, so that was the starting point. Yeah, but he immediately understood after 1 or 2 years, yeah, by developing the first prototypes or developing a new production method, etc., that the city of the future needs that, yeah, and we are actually setting up the archive, and we have seen that he also gave lectures at universities, yeah, talking about the city as a metabolism with closed material and energy flows. We are talking about the 60s now, yeah. So actually he, after several years, he understood that it's not just anthroposophic, but it can be it must be a very important structural element of the city of the future.
I mean, so many interesting layers there. One of the things I really like is the idea and the inception. I think if you go around the world and you meet different people in different parts of the world, they have sort of different reasons for starting vertical farming. And then from a historical lens, you know, this guy essentially had a reason around physical health to do it. And then his exploration started. And I think we could all connect with that, right? There was some moment that we heard about vertical farming and we started going down our journey, and there's a different reason sometimes from the beginning about why we still do it. And I think that's an interesting story about him. So Rudner Tower, I remember first hearing about this at your Skyberries conference, which was like 5 years ago maybe?
In 2018.
Yeah, so that was a great conference, a gathering of people.
Keynote.
Yes, and Dixon DePomia was there,
yes.
You know, the father of vertical farming, one of my mentors and a good friend of ours. And it was just a really great gathering, and you did a tour of the tower, I think, and we got to learn about it. But today, you mentioned a little bit in the archives, you've actually continued that journey of research, you've gathered certain archival, historical data, and actually it's not just this tower. I mean, this guy and this family essentially did this in different parts of the world, right? Can you tell us more about that?
Yes, exactly. So they have been pretty successful in the 70s, yeah. And after a while, so we digitized all the photos, and what we figured out together with the former CEO, which was the son of the inventor, 86 years old, we figured out, so this is status today, yeah, they set up 22 vertical farms worldwide.
22.
22. For instance, one of my favorite stories, when even one in Libya, with where the young Gaddafi, a super cute and nice man when he was young, yeah, he simply decided, I want to drink milk, but in order to drink milk, you need cows. They need a lot of water. What am I going to do in the desert? Yeah, so they set up a plant factory in 1978, which produced 10 tons of biomass each day. Yeah, this is one of my favorite ones. Yeah, then for instance, we also know, but this is something where perhaps you can support us on that. Yeah, in 1982, they also built one in Dubai. Yeah, so actually you find these prototypes worldwide, really, from Canada, in Europe the most, of course, yeah, some prototypes here in Austria, even until Moscow there was one.
Wow.
Dubai, and
I mean, 22 around the world, different climate conditions. I mean, there's not even a vertical farming company today that has 22 farms around the world. Really good. You know, I mean, maybe InFarm had small ones around the world, but you know, that's, I think, just an incredible feat. And it's so fascinating that there's these like flows of popularity, and then it sort of disappears. I mean, it's a forgotten vertical farming company.
Yes, exactly. So they actually found a sudden end. Yeah, there was they were in front of signing a huge contract with Mitsubishi Electrics. I think it was in the early 80s or so, and the inventor was a little bit skeptical. Said, "Oh, we are not ready yet." And the son, former CEO, was impatient, and he has to. He's the CEO. So if you're not
generational,
if you're not signing the contract, then I'm leaving.
Yes.
Yeah. And he did. Yeah. And unfortunately, some years later, the father died, and that was one issue. On the other side, this was exactly that period where actually the food prices collapsed. Yeah, but they continued on a research level. You also have to understand this is pioneer spirit. Yeah, we didn't know anything about photosynthesis back then.
Right.
Yeah, so the first papers what we know from McCree are from 72, 73. Yeah, they just put in some light bulbs. Yeah, and figuring out what's going to happen. Yeah, water stress. Well, okay, yeah, then reduce the lighting and whatever.
Yeah, and so now we're looking at it with so much more precision. But you've been gathering all this. We looked at your library a little bit. You've been gathering literally archives from this family, other sources. So this is another Rüttner Tower. Is that what we call it?
Yes.
And this is where? This is also Vienna?
That was in Vienna in 1964.
Okay.
Just for a very short time.
This is an earlier one, just for an event, sort of.
For an event, yeah. It was the Wiener Internationale Gartenschau.
Okay.
So a fair for
a memorable garden show for sure.
41 meters in height.
41 meters high. I mean, also a very tall vertical farm. And this is it, I think, from another perspective, right?
The same one in color. Right?
And so you take the original photos and you digitize them. And then you were talking as well, it's not just related to Rüttner, but you're also gathering some of the classic literature. This is 1977 Philips Lighting Technology and Horticulture. Again, they're talking about lumens in here. You can see some of the initial analysis. Look, this plant looks quite happy here. So, you know, why, I guess the question is, why is it important to look to the past for you? Why? Why does this matter?
It's a tough work. We are still in a situation where you actually have to convince too many people in order to find solutions that will radically increase the food production. Yeah, it's not just a belief. We have to do it. Yeah, everybody is familiar with climate change and all the other things. I don't want to talk about that now. Yeah, and this is something on an emotional and psychological level actually supports the development. Yeah, it gives you strength, it gives you force, because they had way more challenges than we have today. Yeah, technologically, talking about computers, sensors, lighting, whatever. Yeah,
and so, I mean, that's a really good. It boosts the confidence. But is there something else there? I mean, is there anything you can learn from these projects that applies to your work today, or is it just an asset to sort of say, look, this isn't that new, this is something that we can build upon, we have something to build upon? But are there actual lessons that you've observed from these? I mean, I think one lesson I see is relative to some other vertical farm designers. You're you're very focused on the light that hits the building. You think about the PV panels, you think about greenhouses. We don't see as many vertical farm projects that embrace that. We don't see very many vertical farms with PV panels, and we certainly don't see many vertical farms with greenhouses in the top. And what you're doing at Vertical Farm Institute is you're trying to integrate these into the built environment. So that's probably, at least I see the connection between this and the designs I see in your work. I see the relationship. You're saying we have light. How much light do we have, and how can we utilize it?
Yes, exactly. I'm not telling anything new. For instance, the key conclusion of my PhD is actually the question was, does vertical farm have the opportunity to increase the overall energy efficiency of cities? Yeah. Conclusion, you don't have to read it. Nobody reads it, by the way. Yeah, is if we are doing that, yeah, it's an energetic disaster. If we are doing it in the wrong way.
Yes.
Yeah? So the basic understanding is in this that what we are doing on the very beginning, before we start designing. Yeah, we are building the built environment, we are setting up the building volume, and then we start with the climate analysis. And one of the key questions is, what is the solar? So what is the kilowatt hours per square meter a year what I get for free? Yeah, and with that I can start. Yeah, number one. And number two, it needs to really come up with a clever proposal for the question, where do I put what in the building? Yeah, if you imagine the building as the Earth, yeah, the building itself has different climate zones from the very beginning. This is interesting when we start the discussions by building refurbishment.
Yes.
Yeah? The building exists already, I can do anything about it, but I can start with the analysis, and then I say, okay, this is my average temperature, this is the light distribution, this is whatever. Right. If you want to be energy efficient, well, the crop catalog is shrinking from the very beginning, and you say, okay, you could put fish, mushrooms, insects, and whatever, still producing food. This is the key message. But with an energy impact, what you can save. Okay, this is feasible and it's reasonable.
Yeah, I think that idea of like modules that you can interact or intervene with existing buildings or with new buildings is a much better approach than the simple box. I mean, there's just a different kind of business. But in the urban context, you really have to think about. I mean, the early term. Actually,
I'm not saying that. I'm not saying no. Okay, do your plant factory, do your black box.
Yeah.
The question is, where am I getting the energy from? Yeah.
Right.
If it's renewable energy, I don't care how much energy I need. Yeah. Number one. Number two is, what is the climate zone? So where is it actually?
Right.
I don't have an issue with the plant factory in Reykjavik. Yeah?
Right. Yeah, that makes more sense. But if you have a place where you have more light and warmth, it's like interesting to integrate other ones. I mean, the term that I was really interested in the early days was building integrated agriculture. Before vertical farming gained as much popularity, there was that term, and it was sort of what you're talking about here, using greenhouses for facades, for solar thermal gain, basically finding the synergy between the building and the energy needs and the building itself. Like, what are the benefits there across energy, across water, across CO2, all that. That's exciting. That's where you need architects. That's where you need to move beyond just the typical vertical farms. Now, recently you visited a vertical farm that is kind of represents a little bit like this, represents the facade vertical farming, and that is Vertical Harvest. You went to Jackson Hole and Portland and Salt Lake City, but you visited specifically Jackson Hole and Portland to see both the new project and the existing one. Tell us some observations you had about Vertical Harvest in that visit.
First of all, Vertical Harvest in Jackson, Wyoming is a project which is very close to my heart on both sides, on a personal level, but also on an architectural level. I analyzed that back and forth. It's also a separate chapter in my dissertation, because the interesting thing is there you're bringing, it's a building which brings different interests together. That's what normally is happening in a city. Yeah, it's strengthening sub-economic networks. Yeah, number one. Number two, it has a social agenda. So disabled people, for instance, are part of the operation team. I also met it was Michelle. Yeah, who is responsible for the tomatoes. Yeah. And number one. Number two is it was 10 degrees Celsius, minus 10 degrees Celsius outside, and we had 23 degrees, although they are now cleaning and refurbishing the whole building, no HVAC running. Yeah.
Right, from the sun.
Again, energy for free. Yeah? For free. But you have to do it in a clever way. Yeah, everybody knows that overeating is an issue. How to get rid of that. Yeah, and this is solvable, and that makes it even more interesting that they repeated that concept in Maine. Way bigger.
Yes, they did it again, and that's what's. I mean, it's interesting because it's known as an architect as well, right? So you can see how architects do these projects differently. But also the social layer of vertical harvest with the special needs individuals is so compelling. And the location you mentioned, it was difficult to get fresh food in the area, so they actually are growing fresh food in a sort of. Daniel had a hard time in America. It's okay, you're back home again. So we talked about the past, we talked a little bit about the present with your visit to Vertical Harvest. Tell us about the future of your work and the Vertical Farm Institute. What are your hopes? What are your dreams? What are you looking forward to?
The point is, I'm very grateful for COVID and for Brexit. Because what we figured out is that the questions or the clients changed, and they are addressing way more specific questions on us, So I do see it's too late to be a pessimist now, we can say. For instance, working together with an urban developer who actually understands that the energy issue is not a user issue, but it's ours, We have to come up with an energy concept, and we have to cover the energy demand of that area, what has to be developed, Very important, This is a huge enabler for operators, When you don't get an energy bill by the end of the month, the flexibility is increasing, Number one. Number two, understanding the vertical farm as a structural element of the urban system makes it even more feasible than you are reaching that impact, You can close material flows, the energy where we talked about it, and you also have to develop your gastronomy concept, etc., together on site. That's what we did basically for 11,000 years now, and we stopped 50, 60 years ago, is bringing that back together.
I love you said to bring it back, because I really see urban agriculture today and vertical farming as a restoration as opposed to something new. We're trying to bring it back again. There's so much we can learn from the past. There's so many new challenges that we can apply food production to, like you said, social cohesion, bringing chefs and people together, energy flows, closing resource flows, all of these things, and not to mention the capacity to inspire a new generation of urban planners and farmers and entrepreneurs, because we both know that when you see some vertical farms and some urban agriculture projects, it really can affect you, feel something. You can change it, and I think that's what we want our cities to do, is we want them to not just provide the fresh food, which is an incredible benefit, or save energy with the buildings, or achieve LEED points, but to really transform our experience with the world, because we've removed nature from the cities. It's a way to bring that back. That's what inspires me a lot. And you inspire me a lot, Daniel. I've had a great time getting to know you, looking to the past, looking to the future here at the Vertical Farm Institute. Please check out Daniel Podmirseg on LinkedIn. You can also look at their website. They've got all kinds of cool projects. And stay tuned, because Skyberries, their very exciting conference, should be back in the near future. Okay? Thanks for watching.
Thank you very much. Have a nice time.